Hello, boys and girls. Happy Thursday. Today we are working on lesson 8.3, and 8.3 connects fractions to division. Okay, so it's quite simple. All we really have to understand is that this fraction, the fraction line dividing the 5 and the 6, really does mean division. Okay, so when I read this from top to bottom, what I'm really saying, besides 5 over 6 or 5/6, we can also read this as, let me stand a little bit more back, 5 divided by 6. Okay, so both of these are equal to one another. We can write fractions as division and vice versa. Okay, so when we see them in a word problem, okay, let's practice it over here. It says there are 3 students in a crafts class and 2 sheets of construction paper for them to share equally. What part of the construction paper will each student get? Okay, now remember what I've been telling you guys. Whatever they are sharing is the number that goes first. So it tells us here 3 students and 2 sheets of paper, of construction paper. That's what they're going to share equally, right? Because 2 sheets of construction paper for them to share equally. So they're sharing 2 sheets with 3 students, right? So when we write this, we're going to write it as, 2 divided by 3, okay? And notice what the question says. It says, what part of the construction paper will each student get? Okay, all you have to do is write this like this, 2 over 3. Okay, it's kind of like a shortcut. And I'll show you why. When we do that strategy of keep, change, flip, remember that we keep, change to multiplication, and flip this number. 2 times 1/3. Doesn't this equal this? Yes, right? Because, well, you're supposed to put a 1 underneath the whole number in order to multiply. So 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 times 3 is 3. So in essence, what you're doing is just writing these 2 whole numbers as a fraction. Now, this only works when both of these numbers are fractions. Whole numbers, I'm sorry. So when both of these numbers are whole numbers, we can skip this part and just write it like this, okay? It's a little different when one is a whole number and the other one is a fraction. You can't just write a fraction on top of a fraction. That's not possible, right? So over here, it shows you the diagram, okay? I know that you guys don't need a diagram, but I'll show you just in case it pops up on a test. These 2 rectangles represent the 2 sheets of construction paper, okay? Now, remember that they're sharing, they're sharing it with 3 friends. So each one of these sheets of construction paper must be cut into thirds. Now we're gonna pretend my lines are nice and perfect. Okay, so what fraction? It says, what part of the construction paper will each student get? Okay, so basically that's what you're doing, cutting it into thirds. Let me see over here. No. Okay, so this one says 4 friends share 6 sheets of poster board equally. What are they sharing? 6 sheets of poster board, and then there's 4 friends. So in this case, you're going to have the 6 sheets, or the poster, whatever they said it was, divided by the 4 friends. Okay, so we could rewrite it as 6 over 4. Now notice it's an improper fraction, right? When it's an improper fraction, we already know that we have to flip it into a mixed number. So we ask ourselves, how many times can 4 go into 6? And that's 1 time. And then we subtract we're gonna have 2 left over, and then our denominator 4 stays the same. And then of course we simplify. 2 is half of 4, so we simplify it to 1/2. Now let me break it apart for you, showing you how I got 2/4, just in case we forgot. Okay, when you turn an improper fraction into a mixed number, what you're doing is initially dividing. 6 divided by 4, 4 into 6 one time, that's where this whole number comes from. Subtract the 4. Remember that your remainder is your numerator, and then the denominator stays the same, which is the divisor in this case. Okay. Let's do, let me see it. Okay, there's another question down here. Miss Ruiz has a piece of string that is 125 inches long. For a science experiment, she divides the string equally among 8 groups of students. How much string will each group get? So, what is she cutting, dividing, splitting, or sharing? Well, the piece of string, correct? So that piece of string is going to go first. That piece of string is 125 divided by 8 among the 8 students. Or we can write it like this, 125 over 8. It's obviously an improper fraction because 125 is ginormous. I got my numbers right, okay. So we're gonna divide it, correct? And ask ourselves, how many times can 8 go into 125? And we'll divide that here. We know that 8 can't go into 1, so we'll put our 0. 8 into 12, just one time, and we'll subtract. We're left with 4. We bring down the 5. 8 into 45 is 5 times. That's 40. And then we're left with 5. And I'm going to stop because 8 can't go into 5, and I have nothing else to continue bringing down, right? Remember that the quotient is your whole number, so that will go over here. The remainder is your numerator. And then the denominator is your divisor, which is also the same denominator that is here. Okay, now this cannot be simplified, so we leave it just like that, okay? And then to answer the question, it says, how much string will each group get? Well, they're each going to get 15 and 5/8 inches because the word problem mentions inches. Okay. Okay, so we'll do numbers 1 and 2 together, and then that should, actually, let me see if there's other word problems back here. Yes, there are. Perfect. So we'll do number 1 and then one of the word problems in the back. 6 friends share 4 small pizzas equally. What are they sharing? 4 small pizzas. So again, we're going to write that number first. 6 friends are sharing 4 small pizzas. So it's going to be 4 divided by 6. Okay, remember the shortcut we learned? You can do keep, change, flip. It's just going to take you longer. Just do 4 divided by 6. Or as a fraction, 4/6. Then you can simplify. And that would be 2/3, because the greatest common factor between 4 and 6 is 2. Okay? And that's pretty much it for that one. Let's do number 8. Shauna has 3 adults and 2 children coming over. She's going to serve 2 small apple pies. If she plans to give each person, including herself, an equal amount of pie, how much pie will each person get? Okay? So remember, it's including herself. So it's going to be 3 adults, 2 children, that's 5 people, plus her, it's going to be 6. So she's going to serve 2 small apple pies, and she wants to give each person an equal amount of pie. How much will each person get? So we're sharing 2 small pies with 6 people. So we're gonna say 2 divided by 6, which is 2/6. And then we obviously have to simplify this, which would be 1/3. Let's do the keep, change, flip, because I know that I don't want to confuse you guys. 2 times, remember, whole numbers become fractions, and that equals 2/6. See how it's the same thing? So like I said earlier, doing this is just a shortcut, and this only works when you have whole numbers here. If one of them is a fraction, you can't just write it as a fraction, because like I said earlier, you cannot have a fraction over a fraction. How silly would this look? Let's pretend that we have 1/3 divided by 2. I can't put 1/3 over 2. It doesn't look correct. Okay, so that's why we only use it when it's whole numbers. All right. Okay, over here. So then each person would get 1/3 of a pie. Okay. Let me go back and see if there's anything that I need to go over. I think that was it. The rest is pretty simple. It's the same thing, just writing each of these as a fraction. This one is obviously going to be an improper fraction, because if I put 8/3, you're going to have a numerator bigger than the denominator, so you would turn it into a mixed number. This, if you have to simplify, please make sure you simplify. Yeah, the rest are the same thing that we just did. So that sums it up. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you all again.